So recently you may remember that this hacker stole files from CD Projekt RED, including the actual source code to Cyberpunk 2077. Well, guess what? He's auctioning off the source codes for Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher 3 for $7 million. I kid you not. Here is the headline right here. We have a lot to talk about in this video, so let's dive straight in. Hey everyone, what's happening? Overworld Games here. Hope you're doing good. Remember to leave a comment down below because I love to go over your top comments later in my videos. I'm going to be doing that in this video, so stay tuned. But yeah, let's dive straight into this one. I've got a bunch of other news in this video as well, but let's start reading. It says, CD Projekt RED hackers allegedly already auctioning leaked source files updated. By the way, this comes from Tom'sHardware.com, very reputable source. They go on to say this, and they have the update here. It's already in the article. It says, yesterday, news broke that hackers breached Cyberpunk 2077 studio CD Projekt RED. The hackers gave CD Projekt RED 48 hours to respond to the ransom demands, and it seems that time is already up. The group claiming to be behind the hack has now posted the source code of CD Projekt RED's Gwent card game on a hacking forum and claimed to be auctioning off the source code for both The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077 on the exploit forums with a starting bid of $1 million or the option to buy upfront for $7 million. Now, the hackers claim to have also obtained source files for Cyberpunk 2077, Gwent, and an unreleased version of, probably for next-gen consoles, The Witcher 3. So apparently they even have an unreleased version of The Witcher 3. So it could be we might be seeing like a remastered version of The Witcher 3 on PS5 and Xbox Series X, which would be really, really cool. But anyway, yeah, so for any publisher or any party to step forward and to consider buying this illegal source code for $1 million to $7 million would immediately put them under threat of investigation. So that is immensely risky for any publishers that would like to reverse engineer this source code for Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher 3, which I am sure there are many publishers and developers thinking, damn, I wish I could see this source code right now or do anything. But, you know, it's interesting. Perhaps there is some sort of black market out there. I'm not too sure. We know that black markets do exist for other things in the world, but do they exist for source codes and things of this nature? It's interesting because in the gaming industry and even in the movie industry, sometimes you see like two similar movies released at the same time from competing studios, and most likely that's because of spying on one another. That's my opinion. That's what I've seen. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if perhaps someone does attempt to take a look at the source code. But then again, most parties, publishers, or any individual developers will be like, you know what, this is definitely not worth the trouble because you know that they are being investigated right now. This hacker is really in deep waters for sure. But it looks like to me the attempt to get a ransom is not working at all. You know, the 48 hours have gone by and CD Projekt RED are being relentless in that they are not giving in, at least, you know, right now. Perhaps they're working with authorities, coming up with a way to try to get this hacker out in the open, so to speak. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated as to what happens here with this one. Now, let's keep going with the article. It says, as spotted by VX Underground, a well-known entity in the data security space, the data is already up for auction with a few sample bits of code available on the exploit forum. The starting bid was set at $1 million for the full cash, but it's easy to imagine it will sell for a much higher price. Meanwhile, the leaked Gwent files also appear to have made their way to a handful of other forums, including 4chan, with the main download hosted on Mega. We found traces of the threads, but they have since already been removed and deactivated. As such, we are unable to confirm the validity of the leak. Either way, it appears Mega, 4chan, and other forums are actively working to ensure the Gwent code, which appears to be the first leak installment to take place, doesn't end up in too many public hands. So yeah, you know, despite this hacker's best efforts, he's having trouble, you know, getting the word out about this and having people actually look at the files and saying that they are valid. So It looks like a lot of the platforms that he is posting to are trying to counter him and deactivate whatever downloads or threads he is posting to ensure that probably also they don't get into legal troubles as well. They probably want to work with CD Projekt RED and try to resolve this situation. You know, not everyone at CD Projekt RED is the bad guy. You got to remember that there's talented people that are at that studio that are caught in the crossfire with this whole situation. You have to remember that for sure. Now, let's keep going. This is definitely interesting right here. It says, releasing the ransom data in separate stages is a standard method to threaten the target. In this case, the hackers are using this tactic to remind CD Projekt RED that they are serious about the ransom. So, they're not just going to go out there and say, hey, here's the full Cyberpunk 2077 source code download. They're going to prove that they actually have these files by first and foremost releasing bits and pieces to really make CD Projekt nervous. So that's what they want to do. They want CD Projekt RED to lose sleep at night, it seems, which is definitely a rough thing that these developers are going through for sure. Now, of course, the gaming community, that's us. We've already been through our own fair share of rough stuff with Cyberpunk 2077. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, let's see what Take-Two has to say about the situation. Of course, you guys know who Take-Two is. They own Rockstar Games, who make GTA 5, but let's dive in. It says, Take-Two CEO says studio should always wait for perfection if possible, likely referring to Cyberpunk 2077 controversy. This comes from WCCF Tech. And it says, Take-Two Interactive CEO Strauss Zelnick has said the developer should always wait for perfection if possible, instead of releasing a game too early. During the publisher's most recent earnings call with investors, the CEO was asked about the current pace of AAA game development and sustainability with the recent controversy surrounding CD Projekt RED's Cyberpunk 2077 being a direct reference when it comes to not being able to meet expectations, especially on last-gen consoles. The question from the analyst and Zelnick's reply can be read below. Ooh, let's take a look-see. This is so exciting. It says, and there's been a debate, I think, emerging in the industry about whether the current pace of AAA games development and sustainable both, I think, for getting games out the door, and then the sense that live services are becoming more and more of an arms race in terms of who can put the most content out the quickest. There was a competing game that came out recently that was highly anticipated, where I think it was clear case of that studio's reach exceeding their grasp. Gee, I wonder what game he's referring to. Of course, in that statement right there, he's referring to Cyberpunk 2077, that they bit off more than they can chew. And of course, you got to remember that there's a lot more to it than just that. There, in my opinion, there was a lot of false marketing with Cyberpunk 2077 for sure. Now, it says, according to Take-Two CEO, if perfection can be created, one should always wait to accomplish that instead of pushing a game out early. But I think the case that you're alluding to reflects the fact that you're always better served to wait for perfection if you can create perfection, the CEO said. And all of our labels are seeking perfection, and we don't always succeed. Sometimes we fall short, but that's the goal. If anything in these times cause us to sharpen our minds further and sharpen our discipline further and try harder. So it's going to be interesting to see how GTA 6 turns out. Is it going to be perfection? What we do know is they supposedly, they say this stuff publicly, but they supposedly don't want to overwork their developers, and they're doing it differently with GTA 6. Honestly, I think they're going to have to, unless they want to start losing key talent at these studios. All right, let's keep going. He added, so yes, right. It's great that Rockstar Games continues to put out add-on content and additional content for Grand Theft Auto Online and for Red Dead Online, but they put out material that they really believe in, they're passionate about, and that of the highest possible quality. And that means we're not on a weekly cadence, and we're not going to be in that. And that means we don't necessarily know the exact release date, but we do know that it is that we will wait for it to be as close to perfect as anything can be. The quote here is a little rough. Of course, I don't know if it's translated or what's going on there, but yeah. there's that. So yeah, we'll see what happens with GTA 6 down the road. Of course, there's going to be news about that, I'm sure. But, I mean, GTA 5 is just a monster even now. Like, you guys may have heard their sales numbers have been the best ever during the franchise. They're supposed to be, like, at the very tail end of their franchise, and it seems like they're just starting up. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think Take-Two and Rockstar Games are going to be like, oh, hey, we got to jump into GTA 6 right now. We need to release a new game. They're going to take their time with this stuff and keep building upon GTA 5. At least that's my opinion. And that goes back to Cyberpunk 2077. You know what? I think that they too are going to want to create a Cyberpunk universe that is online heavy, online intensive, and they're going to go after the money. Just like, you know, Rockstar Games has succeeded with this whole GTA Online. So yeah, I honestly expect that to be what the future of Cyberpunk will be in the next 5 years. Is heavily focused online stuff. But then again, I could be wrong. Hopefully they continue the single player stuff. But they're looking at this whole launch situation like it was a freaking mess and disaster. So they're probably like, hey, why not try multiplayer now? I think they should stick to single player. That's my opinion. But anyway, let's go over your top comments. Remember to leave a comment down below. It could end up right here in a future video. You never know. But let's do this. So, yeah, my most recent video was about the hacker that stole everything from CD Projekt RED and then leaves a ransom note with demands. That ransom note actually makes me laugh because of how it was worded. I don't know. It seemed like it was written by a first grader or something. Chalim Defoe says, net runners are at it again, poking holes in the power grid. Oh, dear God. Professor Ignore says, those demands look like they were written by someone who would unironically call themselves Prometheus Hacker 69. Matthew says, when you're trying to be cool and you made first grader grammar mistakes, God, that is exactly how I feel about it, Matt. Absolutely. Exilium says, now this is immersion. I mean, come on. I'm telling you what, this whole story is crazy. Al Watts says, this is such a shame. Clearly, given the targeted attack, there are some people who just want CD Projekt RED to burn. Personally, I just want to see them fix the game and recover from this and learn from it to never stuff up a game release again in the future. Definitely. You know, I don't want CD Projekt RED to close their doors. I don't want them to splinter, you know, and to lose developers. You know, I want to see a Cyberpunk 2077 update. I want to see, you know, a sequel. But I do want them to continue the single-player stuff because they're really good at making these single-player games. And I'm a little worried about their overall vision anyway. You know, they're going to be going after the Cyberpunk multiplayer stuff. Hell, it could be cool. I'm definitely curious about it. But after the launch of Cyberpunk 2077, given that it's a single-player game and you don't even have to deal with the multiplayer problems and issues, yeah, I'm worried. But Phoenix Piran says, imagine they hack the game codes and fix the damn game for them. Laughing. I can't even say it. Blowfa says, Netrunners are at it again. Whoopdoo says, they shouldn't have made the Netrunners build so powerful. E21 Big says, meanwhile, somebody found CD Projekt RED server guy with a weird spider robot on his face. Steve Harrison says, well, this sucks. Hope the hackers found and dealt with. Whilst legitimate and constructive criticism is one thing, this sort of thing is abhorrent. Your company's stock will take a hit. Well done, genius. Those are actual people with jobs and families and livelihoods you're dicking about with. Absolutely. Mungos Last said, should have gotten the I Spy perk. Yeah, so a lot of you are actually on the side of, you know, supporting the developers. Of course, the board, the CEO, the head of studio of CD Projekt RED has come forward and said that he'll take the blame for releasing the game in the state that it was in. But the developers, you know, you got people working on art assets, animations, story work, quest design, scripting, and then it all comes together and it's up to the board to decide when the game releases. The developers have no say. So it's a shame that, again, that they are caught up in this crossfire. But thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more Cyberpunk 2077. And yes, open world gaming goodness. And I will see you all next time. Take care.